Welcome to the Learn and Talk English podcast. On this channel, Learn and Talk English, we are providing high-quality educational material designed specifically for you, the English learner.
Yeah, we are so glad you're here with us today.
We really are. And to start off, I want you to just imagine this scenario for a moment. You are sitting in an American emergency room.
Oh, wow. Okay. High stress right away.
Right. It's incredibly stressful. You're in agonizing pain. And the doctor walks in, looks at his clipboard and asks you to rate your pain on a scale from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm. A very standard question.
Exactly. So you say your pain is a 7. But because you were sitting quietly, trying to be polite, and maybe occasionally checking your phone to distract yourself, the doctor writes down mild discomfort in your chart.
Which is, that is a terrifying reality for so many people navigating healthcare in a second language.
It really is.
Because your words said one thing, but your cultural body language communicated something completely different to a Western doctor.
Yeah.
And because of that disconnect, you might not get the medication or the immediate attention you desperately need.
That is exactly why we are here today. Today we are acting as professional English teachers, but we are taking you far beyond basic vocabulary.
Absolutely.
We are going to speak slowly and clearly, and we will repeat important sentences so you can practice. But our ultimate goal is much bigger.
Right, the stakes are high.
They are. We are going to look at how the exact words you use and the cultural assumptions you bring with them can literally alter your medical diagnosis. And I want to advise you, the listener, that there will be no filler words or useless topics today, just a pure step-by-step educational journey.
Yeah, we have a massive hour-plus educational journey ahead of us. Going to a doctor in an English-speaking country can be, well, an incredibly stressful experience.
Utterly exhausting.
You are already feeling physically vulnerable, and on top of that, you are carrying the cognitive load of translating medical terminology in your head.
Which is so hard.
It's exhausting. So today, we are going to equip you with absolutely everything you need. We will unpack the subtle differences in basic symptom vocabulary, the logistical friction of making appointments.
Oh, that's a big one.
Right. And the legal weight of hospital admissions, the hidden science behind complex blood test results, and, of course, the unwritten cultural rules of Western medicine.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with the foundation, which is the words you use to describe what is going wrong in your body.
The very basics.
And even at the beginner level, English can be incredibly tricky. It is vital to understand the subtle differences between words that seem identical, but paint a very different picture for a doctor. Let's look at the words ill and sick.
Oh, these two words are a perfect example of why precision matters immensely in a medical setting.
Right, because they seem the same.
They do.
Yeah.
If you look them up in a basic dictionary, they both just translate to not healthy. But in practical everyday English, they carry very different weights.
You really do. Ill generally refers to suffering from a serious, often long-term disease or a significant medical condition.
Right. So you might say, my sister is seriously ill in the hospital. It implies something systemic or long-lasting.
Exactly. Sick, on the other hand, is much more immediate and often localized.
Localized meaning in one specific spot.
Right. In American English, if you tell a doctor or a nurse, I feel sick, their mind might immediately jump to gastrointestinal distress.
Oh, like your stomach.
Yeah, they might assume you are nauseous and that you're going to vomit. Alternatively, sick is used for minor temporary ailments like a common cold.
So if I am sitting in the examination room and my stomach is churning, I want to use that specific phrase. I will say, I feel sick. Let me say that again so you can practice the pacing. I feel sick.
That is perfect.
By using that phrase, the doctor knows exactly what kind of distress I am in. But what about pain versus ache? Because honestly, these two are constantly mixed up by learners.
They are, and the distinction is fascinating because it describes the actual physical character of your suffering.
Okay, so?
Well, pain is the body's immediate alarm system. It is the feeling when you are acutely hurt.
Like a sudden injury.
Yes, it is often sharp, sudden, and highly specific to one location. You feel pain when you accidentally cut your finger with a knife or when you break a bone.
It is a loud signal. An ache, however, is a continuous, dull feeling of discomfort.
Very different feeling.
It is less like an alarm bell and more like a heavy background hum.
Precisely. An ache is what you feel in your head after a long, stressful day staring at a computer screen.
Oh, I get those all the time.
Right, or in your lower back after lifting heavy boxes. Because it is a lingering sensation, you will very often hear the word ache combined directly with body parts in English.
Let's practice those combinations because you will use them constantly.
Mhm.
I have a headache. I have a headache.
That's a great example.
Or if you ate too much, I have a stomach ache. I have a stomach ache. Now, beyond describing the problem, we also need to understand the words used to describe the solution.
This is crucial.
This brings us to 3 critical verbs that are deeply misunderstood, which are treat, cure, and heal.
Yeah. This is where we get into the actual philosophy of medicine.
The philosophy.
Yeah, because to treat a patient is simply to give medical care. It is the action the doctor takes. They might give you medicine, or bandage a wound, or perform surgery. The doctor treats you.
Okay, so the doctor does the treating, but to cure is the ultimate goal. It means to eradicate the illness completely so that it no longer exists in your body.
Yes.
If a doctor cures your infection with antibiotics, the infection is gone forever.
And then we have heal. Healing is the biological process of the body becoming healthy again.
Like magic, almost.
Exactly. It is what your own cells do when a cut on your skin slowly closes up and disappears over a week.
So if I can use an analogy here, treat is the journey, cure is the destination, and heal is the body fixing the damage itself along the way.
I agree completely, and that analogy perfectly captures the medical process. The doctor provides the treatment, which is the external intervention. The cure is the absolute elimination of the illness. But healing is the internal biological miracle.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, your body heals a broken bone while the doctor treats it by putting it in a cast to hold it still. Understanding these differences is crucial because it allows you to understand exactly what a medical professional is promising you.
They can't always promise a cure.
Exactly. A doctor might treat a viral cold to reduce your fever, but they cannot cure it. Your body must heal itself.
That is a profound distinction. Let's practice a few more essential foundational sentences for explaining basic symptoms. These are your tools for that initial conversation.
Listen closely, everyone.
I have a fever. I have a fever. I feel dizzy. I feel dizzy. I have a sore throat. I have a sore throat. By mastering the precise use of these simple sentences, you are building a rock-solid foundation for everything that follows.
Because once you have the vocabulary in your head, you face the next major hurdle, which is the logistical friction of actually getting into the building to see the physician.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just walking in.
Not at all. The process before you even enter the examination room involves several complex steps of communication. You must navigate making an appointment, surviving the reception desk, and ultimately understanding the pharmacy.
Let's walk through those practical scenarios. Making an appointment is your first point of contact. In English-speaking countries, you rarely just walk into a clinic and demand to see a doctor immediately.
Unless it is a life-threatening emergency, of course.
Right, unless it's an emergency. Normally, you must call ahead. Imagine you are calling the clinic on the telephone. You need to be incredibly direct and clear to cut through the receptionist's busy day. Let's practice this direct approach.
Good idea.
I need to see a doctor. I need to see a doctor. I would like to make an appointment for tomorrow. I'd like to make an appointment for tomorrow.
An appointment is simply a reserved block of time on the doctor's schedule specifically for you. When you arrive at your scheduled time, you will immediately approach the reception desk.
And this is where the bureaucratic part of healthcare happens.
Right, and it can feel overwhelming. So much paperwork.
Let's do a slow, simulated role play of walking up to a receptionist so you know exactly what to expect. You walk up and state your purpose clearly. I have an appointment at 10 a.m. Here is my insurance card.
And that insurance card is vital in places like the United States, as it proves how your visit will be paid for.
Exactly.
Once you hand that over, the receptionist will usually hand you a clipboard. They will say something like, "Please fill out this form. What is your date of birth?"
And then they will ask you one of the most critical safety questions in all of medicine.
Yeah.
They will ask, do you have any allergies?
Pay attention to this part. It is so important.
You absolutely must know how to declare your medical allergies clearly, because giving you the wrong medicine could be fatal. Let's practice this vital sentence. I am allergic to penicillin. I am allergic to penicillin.
Once your file is updated, the receptionist will direct you to the waiting area. You need to listen for a very specific phrase so you know the interaction is over.
What do they usually say?
They will say, "Please take a seat over there. The doctor will see you soon."
And while you wait, it is a good time to think about the end of your visit, which almost always involves the pharmacy.
Yes, the pharmacy.
The pharmacy is where the science becomes a physical product you take home. But in an English-speaking environment, you will encounter a strict divide between two categories of medicine,
Right, prescription and over-the-counter.
Exactly.
This is a legal distinction as much as a medical one. A prescription is a formal, highly regulated written order from your doctor.
It's like a permission slip.
Pretty much.
Mm.
It might be on a piece of paper, or increasingly, it is sent electronically straight to the pharmacy. You absolutely cannot buy this medicine without the doctor's official authorization because the drug is either highly addictive or potentially dangerous if used incorrectly.
Over-the-counter medicine, however, is exactly what it sounds like. It is medicine you can pick up yourself directly from the shelf and buy over the store counter.
Like basic headache medicine or cough syrup.
When you are at the pharmacy, you need to advocate for yourself. It's not just a store.
No, the pharmacist is a highly trained healthcare provider. When you hand them your prescription, you must ask crucial questions to ensure your safety.
What's the first question they should ask?
The first question you should always ask is, are there any side effects?
Why is that so important to ask the pharmacist rather than just trusting the doctor?
Because the pharmacist is the ultimate specialist in pharmacokinetics, which is how drugs move through and affect the body.
Pharmacokinetics, wow. That's a big word.
It is. But simply put, side effects are the secondary, unwanted biological reactions your body might have to the medicine.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, the doctor prescribed the drug to treat an infection, but a side effect might be that it makes you intensely drowsy or causes a severe upset stomach.
Oh, I see.
If you don't ask, you might think you're getting sicker, when in reality, it is just a normal side effect of the pill.
You also need to understand exactly how the medicine interacts with your daily routine. You must ask, do I take it with food or on an empty stomach? This isn't just a suggestion, right?
Right, it's basic chemistry. Some medicines are highly acidic and can physically damage the lining of your stomach if they are taken without a cushion of food.
Ouch.
Yeah. Other medicines are very delicate and will be completely destroyed by your stomach acid if your digestive system is actively breaking down a large meal.
So if you don't follow these instructions, the medicine might not absorb into your bloodstream at all.
Exactly. You'd be taking it for nothing.
And we are all human, which means we forget things.
Yeah.
You must know what to do when you make a mistake. You should ask the pharmacist, what if I miss a dose?
A dose is the specific, measured amount of medicine you take at one time.
Right. So if you miss it, do you double the next dose? Do you skip it entirely? Only the pharmacist can tell you. Let's practice a few sentences you can use at the pharmacy counter.
Great.
Where is the pharmacy?
Right.
Where's the pharmacy? Is this available without a prescription? Is this available without a prescription? Take 2 tablets every 6 hours. Take 2 tablets every 6 hours.
This level of detailed inquiry is exactly why this knowledge is so powerful. You are learning to protect your health using English.
It's very empowering.
But let's rewind the clock back to the clinic. You have finished at the reception desk, you have been waiting patiently, and finally, a nurse calls your name.
The waiting is over. You are now stepping into the examination room for the medical interview with the doctor. This is where the detective work happens.
Yeah, a patient history is not a casual, wandering conversation. It is a highly structured, systematic gathering of biological facts.
It has a real purpose.
And doctors are trained to use 2 very specific types of questions to extract this information: open-ended questions and close-ended questions.
They almost always start wide. They will walk in, sit down, and ask an open-ended question like, what brings you here today?
They do this purposefully to give you the floor.
Yeah.
They want to hear the problem in your own words to see what you prioritize.
Like, do you mention the pain first, or do you mention how tired you are?
Yes, your unguided answer gives them their first major clue. But once they have that clue, they narrow the focus rapidly.
They switch to close-ended questions.
Exactly. These are questions that demand a very precise, usually one-word answer. They will press on your stomach and ask, does it hurt here?
They don't want a story. They require a simple yes or no.
To survive this rapid-fire questioning accurately, we need to elevate your vocabulary to the intermediate B1 level.
Okay, let's do it.
We already discussed the difference between a general pain and a general ache. Now, you must be able to describe the exact texture and character of the pain.
This is so important because the texture of the pain tells the doctor exactly what kind of tissue is damaged. Let's go through these carefully. First is sharp pain. Sharp pain feels like a literal knife or a needle piercing your skin. It is highly localized.
Then we have dull pain. Dull pain is heavy and constant. It is not extremely intense, but it is deeply uncomfortable and spreads over a larger area like a bruised muscle.
Next is throbbing pain. This is a fascinating one because it is tied directly to your circulatory system.
Right, it beats.
Throbbing pain
literally beats with the rhythm of your own heart. You feel a pulse of pain every time your heart pumps blood into the inflamed area.
Finally, we have cramping pain.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like your internal muscles are violently squeezing tightly together and refusing to let go. It is very common in abdominal issues.
Beyond the pain, the doctor is also going to ask you social history questions. And honestly, this can feel a bit invasive.
It really can.
They will ask things like, do you smoke? Or how much alcohol do you drink? Or are you under a lot of stress at work?
It feels invasive, but you must answer these questions with absolute, brutal honesty.
Don't hide anything.
Doctors are not asking these questions to judge your moral character. They are asking because lifestyle factors are very often the actual root cause of physical illnesses.
Yeah.
A doctor cannot accurately diagnose your chronic headaches if you hide the fact that you are drinking heavily or experiencing massive psychological stress.
Once they have the history, they're going to ask you to quantify your suffering. They're going to ask you for a number. This is the 0 to 10 pain scale.
This is a big one.
And we're going to break this down comprehensively because patients very rarely understand how doctors interpret this scale. You must take these numbers seriously.
The 0 to 10 pain scale is incredibly tricky because it is purely subjective. It is based entirely on your personal internal feeling.
Right. There's no blood test or x-ray that can prove you are at a level 6.
However, medical professionals use highly specific clinical definitions for these numbers to standardize your subjective feeling.
Let's walk through the scale. 0, obviously, is completely pain-free. Levels 1 to 3 are categorized as mild pain.
Mild pain, yeah.
This is a nagging, annoying sensation. But the key here is that it does not stop you from doing your daily activities. You can adapt to it. You can still cook dinner, go to work, and watch television.
Moving up, levels 4 to 6 represent moderate pain. This is a significant escalation. At this level, the pain actively interferes with your daily activities.
So you can't just ignore it easily.
You can still function, and you might even be able to ignore the pain for short periods if you are deeply involved in a specific, demanding task. But the moment you lose focus, the pain returns.
It takes constant psychological effort to push through it. You are always consciously aware that you are suffering.
Then we cross the threshold into levels 7 to 10. This is severe pain. This level is clinically disabling.
Disabling.
Yes, a level 7 pain completely dominates your senses. It is so loud in your nervous system that it stops you from falling asleep, or it wakes you up from a deep sleep.
Wow, and a level 8.
A level 8 makes it profoundly difficult to even hold a normal conversation because the pain demands almost all of your brain's processing power.
That sounds awful.
A level 9 is excruciating. At this stage, patients are no longer trying to be polite. They're usually moaning, crying out uncontrollably, and cannot hold still.
And a level 10.
A level 10 is unspeakable pain. You are bedridden, completely unable to move, and possibly drifting into delirium or losing consciousness because the nervous system is overwhelmed. Very few people ever experience a true, sustained level 10.
But this brings up a huge question. Since pain is completely subjective, how does a doctor know my 7 isn't your 5? If I have a high tolerance for pain, I might call a broken leg a 5, whereas someone else might call a paper cut a 9.
This is a brilliant question. What's fascinating here is that doctors are highly trained to look far beyond the numerical number you give them.
Oh, really?
Yes, they look for autonomic physical responses and social cues to standardize your subjective number.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, if a patient sits in the chair, casually scrolling through social media on their phone, occasionally laughing at a text message, but tells the doctor their pain is an 8,
Right.
the doctor knows immediately that the pain is likely much lower on the clinical scale. Their body language contradicts their words.
Makes sense.
Conversely, if a stoic patient says their pain is only a 4, but the doctor observes that their blood pressure is highly elevated, they are dripping with sweat, they are gripping the side of the bed until their knuckles are white, and they cannot complete a full sentence without pausing to breathe heavily.
Wow.
The doctor knows the pain is actually severe. Your physical body language must match the numerical number you report.
That makes so much sense. The doctor is triangulating the truth. Let's practice the specific sentence used to report your pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 7. Let me say that again. On a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 7.
Beautiful.
By understanding the clinical definitions behind this scale, you communicate exactly how urgent your situation is.
And sometimes communicating that urgency reveals that you need far more than just a prescription and a pat on the back. Sometimes your condition requires you to leave your normal life behind and stay in the hospital.
That brings us to our next major topic, which is the hospital journey. We are now moving into upper intermediate B2 level English concepts.
This is advanced stuff.
We are going to take you deep into the hospital environment, starting with the moment you arrive, known as admission, and ending with the moment you leave, known as discharge.
Admission is the formal, legal, and medical process of being checked into the hospital to stay overnight or for a longer period.
And there are two main ways this happens, right?
Right. There are two primary pathways to admission: emergency admission and planned admission.
An emergency admission is chaotic. It happens suddenly, usually right through the emergency room doors after a severe car accident, a heart attack, or an incredibly severe sudden illness. You did not plan to be there.
A planned admission, however, is scheduled weeks or even months in advance. This is typically for an elective procedure, such as a planned surgery to replace a bad knee joint or remove a non-urgent tumor. You pack a bag and arrive at the front desk at a specific time.
Once you are admitted, you need to understand the geography and the terminology of your new environment. First, we have the difference between a ward and a private room. A ward is a large open room shared with several other patients. It offers less privacy, but is constantly monitored. A private room is exactly that, a room dedicated entirely to you.
Next, the administration will ask you for your next of kin. This is a vital legal phrase.
Next of kin.
Your next of kin is your closest living family member, usually a spouse, a parent, or a child. The hospital requires this information so they know exactly who has the legal right to be contacted in an absolute emergency, or who can make medical decisions for you if you become unconscious.
And speaking of legal rights and decisions, we arrive at the consent form. This is the piece of paper you will be handed constantly.
Oh, constantly. And the consent form is arguably the single most important document you will ever encounter in a medical setting.
Why is that?
It is the legal and medical paperwork where you officially give the doctor's permission to treat you, to administer anesthesia, or to perform surgery on your body.
But it isn't just about signing your name on the dotted line. It relies on a very profound medical ethics concept called informed consent.
Yes. Informed consent is the bedrock of modern medical ethics. It means the signature is totally invalid unless the doctor has completely and clearly explained three things to you:
What are they?
the risks of the procedure, the benefits of the procedure, and the alternatives to the treatment. And most importantly, you must fully comprehend them before you sign. You must never, ever sign a consent form if you do not understand what's going to happen to your body.
That is a critical point.
Yeah.
You are allowed to stop the process and say, I do not understand. Please explain this again. Now, assuming the surgery goes well, your treatment is finished, and you are healthy enough to leave, you go through the discharge process.
Right, going home.
Discharge means the hospital officially releases you from their care and allows you to go home.
But going home is a vulnerable time. During discharge, a nurse will bring you a large stack of paperwork. It is absolutely crucial to understand the difference between the two main documents you will receive:
Which are?
a discharge summary and discharge instructions.
They sound similar, but they have completely different audiences. A discharge summary is a highly technical clinical document. It is written by the attending doctor for your permanent medical record.
It's mostly code.
Right. It is packed with complex medical terminology, lab values, and procedural codes. It is meant for other healthcare professionals to read in the future.
Discharge instructions, however, are written specifically for you, the patient. They are translated into everyday language. They are your manual for survival at home.
Your survival manual.
Yes. They tell you exactly how to wash your surgical wound, what specific foods you are allowed to eat, and a strict schedule for how to take your new medications.
Before you let them wheel you out the door, you must actively engage with these instructions. You have to ask questions. Please practice these vital questions with me. What are the warning signs? Let me repeat that. What are the warning signs?
So important.
Warning signs are the specific red flags, like a sudden fever or an inability to breathe, that tell you something is going terribly wrong and you need to return to the emergency room immediately.
You also need to establish the timeline for your continued care. You should ask, when is my follow-up appointment? A follow-up appointment is your next scheduled visit with your regular doctor to check the progress of your recovery outside the hospital.
This brings up a really vital safety point that a lot of patients don't know they have control over. What happens if the hospital tells you it is time to be discharged, but you genuinely do not feel physically ready or safe to go home?
This is a scary situation.
Maybe your pain is still at an 8, or perhaps you live entirely alone and you are too weak to even walk to the bathroom safely. The hospital says go, but your body says stay.
This happens frequently due to the pressure on hospitals to free up beds. But you must remember that you have rights. You must advocate for yourself.
How do you do that?
If you are not safe, you must use an exact, empowering phrase to halt the machinery of the hospital discharge process.
The phrase you must use is this: I don't feel safe being discharged. Let me say it again, with the gravity it requires. I don't feel safe being discharged.
Very powerful words.
By using this clear, professional English sentence, you force the medical staff to legally stop the discharge process. They must bring in a doctor or a social worker to reevaluate your physical condition and your living situation. Your ability to speak up with this exact phrase can literally prevent a dangerous, life-threatening situation from occurring in your home.
Let's assume you do get home safely. Your medical journey doesn't just end. It often continues digitally, through patient portals where you review your laboratory tests.
Oh, looking at the app on your phone.
Yes, and this is where patients often panic because medical documents can look like an entirely different language, even for native English speakers with college degrees.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We are moving into decoding the science. We are going to act as your personal guides through the terrifying, confusing world of laboratory acronyms.
It can be overwhelming.
When you go to the lab and they draw a vial of your blood, that blood is run through machines that generate a report, usually divided into 3 main panels. The first and most common panel is the CBC.
CBC stands for Complete Blood Count. This test physically counts the different types of microscopic cells that make up the solid part of your blood.
What's the first thing you see?
The first line you will usually see looks at your white blood cells, represented by the acronym WBC.
White blood cells are the soldiers of your body's immune system. They are the cells that hunt down and fight off foreign infections, bacteria, and viruses.
Exactly. Therefore, if you look at your test and see a high WBC count, it usually means your immune system is currently producing a massive army to fight an active sickness or inflammation in your body.
That's a great way to think of it.
The CBC also looks at your red blood cells, or RBC.
The red blood cells are the delivery trucks. They carry vital oxygen from your lungs all the way down to the tips of your toes and everywhere in between.
Finally, the CBC measures your platelets. Platelets are fascinating tiny cell fragments. Their only job is to constantly monitor the integrity of your blood vessels.
Like little repair men.
Yes. When you cut your finger, platelets rush to the area, stick together, and form a physical plug to help your blood clot and stop the bleeding.
You will also see 2 very complex related words on a CBC test that confuse everyone. Let me sound them out slowly for you. Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the complex iron-rich protein that lives inside your red blood cells.
It's the magnet.
Yes, it is the actual magnetic molecule that grabs onto the oxygen in your lungs and holds it tightly. Next is hematocrit. Hematocrit isn't a cell, it is a ratio.
A ratio.
It measures the physical percentage of your total blood volume that consists of red blood cells compared to liquid plasma.
Which brings us to the liquid plasma itself and the second major panel. The CMP, or Comprehensive Metabolic Panel.
What does that one do?
While the CBC looks at the cells floating in the river of your blood, the CMP analyzes the chemical makeup of the river water itself. It primarily checks how well your 2 main filtration organs, your liver and your kidneys, are functioning.
Prepare yourself, because the chemical names in the CMP are incredibly long. Let's start with the liver. Listen closely to this word: alanine aminotransferase. I will say it again. Alanine aminotransferase.
That's a mouthful.
Thankfully, doctors almost always shorten this to just ALT.
ALT is an enzyme found mostly contained safely inside the cells of your liver. The liver is your body's chemical processing plant.
Right.
If your liver becomes diseased or physically damaged, those liver cells break open and leak ALT into your bloodstream. So a high ALT number is an alarm bell that your liver is suffering.
Next on the liver check is bilirubin. Bilirubin. This is a yellowish waste substance created during the normal, everyday breakdown and recycling of old red blood cells.
Your liver has to clean that up.
Your liver's job is to act as a filter and clear this yellow waste out of your body. If your bilirubin number is high, it means your liver filter is clogged or struggling, and the yellow waste is backing up into your blood.
Moving down the CMP, we check the kidneys. The test looks at blood urea nitrogen, which is always abbreviated as BUN. It also measures a chemical called creatinine. Both BUN and creatinine are normal waste products produced by your muscles and your protein digestion.
So just like a car engine produces exhaust fumes, our muscles produce BUN and creatinine.
Precisely. And healthy kidneys act like an exhaust filter, constantly pulling these waste products out of your blood and pushing them into your urine to leave the body.
So what if the numbers are high?
If your BUN and creatinine numbers are high, it means your kidney filters are broken and the waste is accumulating in your blood. The CMP also usually includes a fasting blood sugar test, which measures the amount of glucose energy floating in your blood to check for warning signs of diabetes.
It is called fasting because to get an accurate baseline result, you must not eat any food or drink any sugary drinks for at least 6 to 8 hours before they draw your blood.
Finally, we reach the third main blood panel, the lipid panel. Lipid is simply the scientific medical word for fat.
Okay, the fat panel.
This panel checks the various types of cholesterol floating in your blood vessels. It measures your total cholesterol, your HDL, your LDL, and your triglycerides.
Now, cholesterol gets a really bad reputation, but it is actually a type of waxy fat your body absolutely needs to build the outer walls of your cells. You would die without it.
True.
But too much of the wrong kind is incredibly dangerous.
We classify them into two main types. HDL is highly beneficial and is often called the good cholesterol. LDL, however, is considered the bad cholesterol.
Why is LDL bad?
LDL is dangerous because if you have too much of it, it can stick to the inner walls of your blood vessels, build up into hard plaques, and eventually cause severe blockages that lead to heart attacks and strokes.
I love explaining it this way. Think of your circulatory system like a city highway. I compare the good HDL to a fleet of garbage trucks.
I love this analogy.
The bad LDL cholesterol acts like sticky trash, slowly piling up in the streets and alleys of your body's arteries. The HDL garbage truck drives through the arteries, scoops up the bad LDL trash, and physically carries it all the way back to the liver to be destroyed and safely removed from the body.
That's perfect.
You want a high number of HDL garbage trucks to keep your biological highways clean and clear.
That is an absolutely brilliant way to visualize the molecular process. Now, when you look at all these numbers on your test results, whether it's the garbage trucks or the liver enzymes, you will also see strange metric abbreviations printed right next to them.
Right.
These abbreviations simply tell you the unit of measurement the laboratory used.
For example, you will see GDL, which stands for grams per deciliter.
Mm-hmm.
Or you might see centimeter, which means cells per cubic millimeter.
When you see these tiny, confusing mathematical fractions, take a deep breath. Do not let the complex math confuse you.
It looks like algebra.
It does. But the most important part of the entire document is not the math. It is the reference range column located right next to your personal result. The reference range simply tells you the normal, healthy window of numbers for a person of your age and biological sex. If your number is inside that window, you are generally fine.
Understanding the underlying science is incredibly empowering. It takes away the fear of the unknown. But using English in a hospital requires far more than just translating chemical vocabulary.
Oh, absolutely.
You must also translate the culture.
This is perhaps the most difficult part of the journey. Language and culture are deeply, invisibly connected.
They really are.
If you spend years learning the perfect dictionary definitions of every medical word, you will still experience massive, frustrating miscommunications. You must understand how people in English-speaking countries view the world, how they view authority, and how they view personal boundaries, especially in a sensitive, high-stress environment like a hospital.
Let's explore a few of these hidden cultural rules. First, we must talk about the R word, race. If you were translating from your native language into English, you might be tempted to use the word race to describe someone's background. But in modern medical, academic, and scientific English, dividing human beings into biological races is considered fundamentally inaccurate.
Yes. From a genetic standpoint, race does not exist. Furthermore, in English-speaking cultures, it is a word that carries an incredibly heavy, painful, and often highly offensive historical baggage.
So what should we use instead?
When you need to describe a person's background or community in a medical context, the correct professional and respectful term to use is ethnicity.
Ethnicity refers to a person's shared cultural background, their ancestry, their language, or their national origin. It is about culture and geography, not biological categories.
Exactly.
And if you're simply trying to describe what someone looks like, for example, if you're trying to point out a specific nurse in the hallway, avoid using racially charged terms entirely. Use neutral, non-offensive identifiers like their hair color, their height, or the color of their clothing.
The next unwritten cultural concept is utterly fascinating. It is something anthropologists refer to as proxemics, but we can call them space blobs.
Space blob.
Yes, space blobs. This is the subconscious idea of personal space. I want you to imagine an invisible physical bubble or blob of space constantly surrounding your body wherever you walk.
Everyone has one. And anthropologists actually divide this invisible personal space into 4 distinct zones.
Right.
The intimate zone for family and partners, the personal zone for friends, the social zone for colleagues, and the public zone for strangers.
The crucial detail is that every single culture on Earth has a different physical measurement for the radius of these zones.
Can you give an example?
Let's take an American doctor, for instance. Raised in Western culture, this doctor might have a relatively large space blob for their professional and personal zone. When they speak to a patient, they naturally stand a certain distance away, maybe 2 or 3 feet.
Because it's professional.
In their cultural mind, giving the patient physical space is a profound sign of professional respect and clinical objectivity.
However, imagine a patient from a different culture, perhaps a Mediterranean or Latin American culture, where the cultural space blob is much smaller. In their culture, stepping very close to someone during a serious conversation is how you show deep trust, emotional engagement, and respect.
This causes invisible, silent cultural friction.
Oh, I can see that.
The patient naturally steps closer to show trust. The American doctor subconsciously feels the patient is aggressively stepping into their intimate space, so the doctor takes a step backward to reestablish their boundary.
The patient then feels the doctor stepping away and instantly assumes the doctor is being arrogant, unfriendly, or uncaring. The doctor feels the patient is being pushy. Neither person has spoken a single aggressive word.
Not one word.
Neither person is doing anything wrong linguistically. But their cultural space blobs are clashing, destroying the medical relationship before it even begins.
It happens every single day. Another major cultural difference that causes friction involves eye contact and the perception of time.
Let's look at eye contact first.
Okay, in Western medicine, particularly in North America and the UK, making direct, sustained eye contact is the ultimate sign of honesty, active listening, and trust. A doctor expects you to look them straight in the eye when you describe your symptoms.
However, in many other global cultures, looking directly into the eyes of an authority figure or an elder-like, a highly educated doctor, is considered aggressive and deeply disrespectful. A patient from one of these cultures might look down at the floor while answering questions as a sign of profound respect.
But the Western doctor, viewing this through their own cultural lens, might misinterpret this lowered gaze.
What would they think?
The doctor might write in their notes that the patient is acting suspiciously, hiding information, or simply not paying attention. Again, a complete breakdown in communication without a single word being misunderstood.
And then there is the concept of time. Western clinics and hospitals run on what is called monochronic time. It is highly rigid, linear, and structured.
Like a train schedule.
Exactly. A 15-minute appointment is exactly 15 minutes. Time is viewed as a resource that can be spent or wasted. The doctor wants to sit down, diagnose the problem in 5 minutes, and move to the next patient.
In contrast, many cultures view time polychronically. Time is fluid, cyclical, and deeply tied to social relationships rather than a ticking clock.
How does that look in a clinic?
A patient from a fluid time culture might expect to spend the first 10 or 20 minutes of the appointment just exchanging pleasantries, asking about the doctor's family, and building a foundation of human trust before ever mentioning their stomachache. When the Western doctor tries to rush them, the patient feels profoundly disrespected and unseen.
The final cultural barrier we need to illuminate is the concept of traditional or folk medicine. This includes centuries-old practices like using specific herbal remedies, acupuncture, or consulting traditional healers in your community.
This is a huge topic.
Very often, patients from non-Western backgrounds who find themselves in Western hospitals are terrified to tell their doctors that they are using traditional remedies.
They hide it.
They hide this information because they fear the Western doctor will mock them or judge them for being unscientific.
They fear the doctor will dismiss it as mere superstition. But what's absolutely fascinating here, and what every patient needs to know, is that modern, rigorous science is increasingly validating these ancient cultural practices.
Exactly. Let's look at the incredible story of Tu Youyou to prove this point. Tu Youyou is a brilliant Chinese scientist who was awarded the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine.
A Nobel Prize.
She won the Nobel Prize for discovering a highly effective life-saving drug to treat malaria, a disease that kills millions. But where did she find the inspiration for this modern drug?
She didn't find it by randomly testing synthetic chemicals in a modern lab. She found it by becoming an investigative historian.
An investigative historian, I love that.
She meticulously studied ancient Chinese traditional medicine texts and recipes from over 1,000 years ago.
What did she find?
Through her research, she discovered that traditional healers had been using a specific plant called sweet wormwood, scientifically known as Artemisia annua, to treat fevers for centuries.
She took that ancient folk knowledge, brought it into the laboratory, and successfully extracted the active chemical compound, which is now known as artemisinin. It became the standard global treatment for malaria.
That story proves that traditional medicine is absolutely not just empty superstition. It very often contains real, potent pharmacological power. Plants are basically chemical factories.
And this brings us to the crucial safety lesson for our listeners. Because traditional herbs contain active, powerful chemicals, you must explicitly tell your Western doctor about any traditional remedies or teas you are consuming. Why?
Because the chemicals from the ancient herb and the chemicals from the modern prescription pill do not care what culture they come from. They all mix together in the dark environment of your stomach and your liver.
Precisely. The active compound in your traditional herbal tea might interact dangerously with the new heart medication the doctor just prescribed.
It might make the prescription drug twice as strong, causing an overdose, or it might completely neutralize it, rendering the treatment useless. You must bridge the cultural gap and tell your doctor everything to keep yourself safe.
We have covered the complex science of the blood, and we have navigated the invisible cultural minefields. Now, as we enter our final section, let's bring our lesson back to daily spoken language.
The fun part.
We are going to teach you how to sound exactly like a native speaker by mastering medical and conversational idioms.
An idiom is a fascinating linguistic tool. It is a phrase where the words, when grouped together, have a completely different hidden meaning than the literal definitions of the individual words themselves.
Right.
Native English speakers use idioms constantly, but they use them with incredible frequency when talking about health, sickness, and the human body.
But why? Why make the language more confusing when talking about something as serious as health?
Because humans are psychologically fragile. Idioms act as a vital linguistic cushion. They soften the harsh, frightening, and often grim realities of sickness, physical pain, and the sterile environment of hospitals.
I guess it makes it easier to talk about.
It is psychologically much easier and socially much more polite to use a colorful, abstract phrase than to state a terrifying medical fact directly to a friend's face.
Let's practice the most common essential health idioms. I will speak the phrase, and then we will explain the true hidden meaning. First up, under the weather. Let me repeat that phrase. Under the weather.
This idiom comes from old sailing ships where sick sailors would literally go below the deck out of the harsh weather to recover.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Today, it simply means feeling slightly unwell. You do not have a severe disease or require a hospital. You might just have a small cold, a mild headache, or you're feeling fatigued. You would call your boss and say, "I'm feeling a bit under the weather today. I need to stay home."
Next idiom. Go under the knife.
Yeah.
I will say it again. Go under the knife.
Taken literally, this sounds incredibly violent and terrifying, but medically, it is just a common euphemism for having a surgical operation.
The knife is the scalpel.
The knife refers to the surgeon's scalpel. You might say, "My father is going under the knife tomorrow morning to repair his knee."
When a medical condition becomes incredibly serious, native speakers use much darker idioms to soften the reality of mortality. You will hear phrases like, at death's door, or a similar phrase, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in the grave.
Both of these idioms paint a very clear picture. They mean a person is extremely dangerously sick and is very close to dying.
Right.
You might hear someone whisper, "He had a terrible heart attack. He was practically at death's door before the ambulance arrived."
Conversely, when someone is recovering from being at death's door, we use highly positive idioms to celebrate their return to health. For example, on the mend. Let me repeat that. On the mend.
To mend something is to fix it, like sewing a hole in a piece of clothing. If you are on the mend, it means the worst of the illness is over. Your body is actively healing, and you are successfully recovering from your illness.
And when the recovery is complete, you might use this fun phrase, alive and kicking. Alive and kicking.
This idiom brings to mind a newborn baby full of energy. It means you are not just surviving, you are completely recovered, incredibly healthy, and full of vibrant energy again. I had the flu last week, but now I am alive and kicking.
Here's one that applies to both medicine and daily life. A bitter pill to swallow.
A bitter pill to swallow.
A pill is the hard, solid medicine you swallow. If it is bitter, it tastes terrible on your tongue.
Like coughing medicine.
As an idiom, this has expanded beyond medicine. It means being forced to accept a very unpleasant fact, a massive disappointment, or an unfair situation that you cannot change.
For example.
The surgeon told the young athlete he can never play professional football again. It was a bitter pill to swallow.
How about black and blue? Let me say that again. Black and blue. This idiom refers to the literal physical color of your skin when you are badly bruised after suffering a physical trauma. The blood pooling under the skin turns dark colors. I fell down the wooden stairs yesterday, and now my entire arm is black and blue.
Finally, we have a few conversational idioms that are constantly used to describe our daily energy levels and learning processes. Hit a wall. Hit a wall.
Imagine you are running a race and you literally crash headfirst into a solid brick wall. You cannot take another step forward.
It's just done.
This idiom means you are suddenly, overwhelmingly exhausted, either physically or mentally, and you absolutely cannot continue working or thinking. I was studying English grammar for 4 hours, but at midnight, I just hit a wall and had to stop.
And when you hit that wall, it is usually time to use this phrase. Hit the hay. Hit the hay. Or similarly, hit the sack. Hit the sack.
Historically, mattresses were just sacks filled with dried grass or hay, so to hit the hay simply means you are exhausted and it is time to go to bed and sleep. My eyes are closing, I am going to hit the hay.
And our final idiom for this journey. Get the hang of it. Let me repeat that. Get the hang of it.
This is a wonderfully encouraging phrase. It means that after struggling for a long time, you are finally learning how to do a new, difficult skill naturally. It is starting to make sense.
Like learning English.
Exactly. Listening to medical English is incredibly hard at first, but if you keep practicing, you will eventually get the hang of it.
By understanding these idioms, you remove the confusion from your daily interactions. You will not be terrified when a friendly nurse smiles and tells you that you will be alive and kicking very soon. Instead of wondering why she's talking about kicking people, you will instantly understand the cultural code. You will know that she is offering you profound comfort and good news.
We have covered a truly incredible, massive amount of material in this conversation.
We really have. Let's take a moment to recap this journey. We want to celebrate you, the listener, for dedicating your time and mental energy to completing this expansive educational lesson. You have progressed from learning how to precisely describe the difference between basic aches and pains all the way through understanding how doctors triangulate the truth on the 1 to 10 pain scale.
Which is a huge achievement.
You learned the critical, legal vocabulary for navigating hospital admissions and standing up for yourself during a premature discharge. You took a microscopic tour of your own bloodstream to decode the complex acronyms and liver enzymes on your lab tests.
You did amazing.
You explored the invisible cultural space blobs and time perceptions that dictate human interaction. And finally, you learned how to navigate the emotional landscape of native speakers using medical idioms.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to ponder as you continue your studies.
Okay, what is it?
Consider the reality that your language proficiency does not just passively describe your healthcare. It actively, forcefully determines the actual physical healthcare you receive. A single misunderstood idiom, a misjudged cultural space blob that makes a doctor step away from you, or simply not knowing the exact English word for a throbbing pain rather than a sharp pain, could literally alter the doctor's entire diagnostic path.
That's chilling, but so true.
It can change the medication they prescribe and the urgency of their care. Your ability to speak English effectively is not just an academic exercise for a classroom. In the high-stakes environment of a hospital, your English proficiency is a vital, non-negotiable tool for your physical survival.
That is an incredibly powerful point to end on. Your words are your shield. If you found this extensive educational journey helpful, please subscribe and like this content. We want you to practice your English right now and become part of our community by writing in the comments section below. Have you ever visited a doctor or a hospital in an English-speaking country? Did you experience any of the cultural friction or language barriers we discussed today? Write your experience in the comments. We read every single one. Remember, on this channel, Learn and Talk English, we are dedicated to providing the best, high-quality educational material to help you stay healthy, understand the world around you, and keep speaking English with absolute confidence. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next lesson.